Lots of war in the subject discussions today. Um, Something fishy in Milwaukee. Let's cover this one. It's funny.
Fish are lining Milwaukee beaches. The exact reason for the die-off is unclear. 12 News Kent Wayne Scott is live at Bradford Beach. And Kent, this is not the first time this has happened. No, Patrick, it's a phenomenon that people down here at the lakefront know happens often around this time of year. But this year, this fish die-off may be the worst that we've seen in quite some time. Take a look at this. All along this area, you can see piles of these small dead fish washed up onto the rocks, and all along the shoreline here on the beach, you can see the problem. You certainly can smell it.
So what? Oh shoot! Okay, damn it.
And we asked the experts why.
The one I saw earlier. Let's see what he says. But they said that this happens every year about this time, and they don't know what to do about it. Though they're conferring with experts on the subject of what to do about it. And I'm all like, well, what did you do about it last year?
Go along Milwaukee's lakefront.
It's normal.
You can't miss the sight.
There was a lot of dead fishes.
Or the smell.
Spoiled food. Rotten odor.
You definitely can smell when the fish come in, and it does get a little hard to bear in some spots.
Hundreds, if not thousands, of dead alewives, small silverfish, dot the shoreline, serving up a feast for the birds. The problem's especially noticeable right here at the south end of Bradford Beach, where each wave washes up more dead fish.
This is one of the downsides, I guess, that we have coming out here.
What's causing the rapid die-off?
We really don't know exactly. It's probably a combination of things.
UWM freshwater sciences professor John Jansen says
He's
a lack of
confused.
iodine in the alewives might make them more susceptible to temperature shock. Sudden changes in spring and early summer can kill off masses of fish.
There's lots of stuff we don't know about what's happening out there.
Salmon were introduced into Lake Michigan in the 60s, and they feed on the alewives. So the die-offs on the beach are not as extreme or as smelly as they once were.
It was moving toward rotten eggs, but maybe not quite that bad.
But some years, like this one, are worse than others.
We don't get die-offs nearly like we did in the mid-'60s with this, but every once in a while, we'll get something like this.
Still, there is something to look forward to.
It's probably close to over.
Well, Kent, is anything being done to clear those dead fish away and clean up the beaches? We checked with the Milwaukee County Parks Department, who tells me that they don't have any beach cleanup plans as of yet, but they are consulting with the Wisconsin DNR. The DNR had crews out on the lake today monitoring the situation, and they say they should have a report on
There you go.
spikes.
He's all like, they don't know what to do, but it happens every year.
Montana and across the country, wildfires have gotten larger, longer duration, and more destructive. And so we have an increased wildfire risk. Accumulated fuels, changing weather, we have more people living in the urban interface. And so all that's led to having a need to move forward with a decisive strategy.
It's not hot spots I've been warning you about over here at all. It's real live fires. They're record-breaking fires. It's not fire season. And yes, the globe is actually on fire, regardless of what others may say. You can see this with your own eyes. Go here on your Google and search any of your, or whatever search engine you use, and search for some fucking fire maps and go look at it yourself. I have checked nation by nation to see if these are actual fires, and yes, they are. Very much. It's not a joke. It's not a mystery as to why. And I was noticing on my fire map that LA lit the fuck up yesterday. There it is in the news. About a month ago, I watched the polar vortex. We watched the polar vortex overtake the planet and begin a clockwise swirl. That clockwise swirl has overtaken the entire hemisphere of the North Hemisphere. This is one of the most abnormal things human beings have witnessed in human time. You, with your eyes, are one of the only human beings on this planet to have ever seen anything like this, is how abnormal this is. This indicates a full hemisphere overtaking by a blue sun, making the swirl on the fucking top of the planet go clockwise. There should never be a clockwise rotation up on the northern hemisphere. That's reserved for the southern hemisphere. Summer is supposed to be pretty stagnant and looking like this, which is funny. It's the lower atmospheres being transferred down here with no buffer zones. Usually the density underneath a layer will cause opposing swirls in the layer below. These are not happening anymore. These are transferring from top to bottom. That's why your weather's so crazy. It's not a mystery at all what's going on. Fires. That is a legitimate map of fires going on. UVI, extremely high in a lot of places. 12, extremely high. We've been reading them up to 25 every day. Spontaneous combustion of the fuel she was talking about is happening globally. Iswall's gotten to the point that there's no denying there's a solar wind from behind. The charge buildup, the fucking pressure front and back is insane. I'm not even pulling it up and putting it into motion. It's redundant. It is also the reason your Schumann frequency is spiking, and that is not going to ascend you. It'll make you sick and then go crazy and die if you don't handle it properly and remain calm. See, that's a picture of the Berkeley current. There's definitely 3 strands in it. Makes total sense because there is Trinity, 3 in creation. Anyone telling you different obviously has no eyes to see. Professor Dave has something to say.
If you think this religious assault on science is no big deal, you really are missing the bigger picture. It represents a concerted effort to drag the world, and America in particular, back toward the theocracies of Europe that existed until the end of the 18th century. A reunification of church and state and reestablishment of a central totalitarian authority with the ability to persecute non-believers, which really just means any subversive individual. This is not just the plot of The Handmaid's Tale. This has happened in the real world recently in places like Iran and Afghanistan. As a result of American imperialist foreign policy, Iran went from a social democracy to a theocracy. Such a thing could happen anywhere. It can be a bit difficult to apply the appropriate perspective in this modern era, where most of us can say absolutely anything with no legal ramifications and live our lives as we please. Not the case for most of human history. Humans had long been subjected to extreme brutality by those in power, which was usually a unified religious and political institution. Christianity in particular has been a violent religion since it was acquired by the Romans in the 4th century. It was imposed with blood onto people throughout Europe during the Inquisition, and again by Europeans in their colonization of Latin America. This is obviously not to say that all Christians are violent or support violence, but the coupling of religious institutions with political ones can turn any religion, even one that preaches peace and love, into a murdering machine. And by suggesting that religion be taught in public schools, the DI is trying to swing that door wide open. Our long fight to remove religion from the centers of power and relegate it to the privacy of the home is one of the greatest achievements of human civilization.
Prime example. We all are very familiar with Lee over here. This is a part of his rant he started earlier. I am a tiler, not HVAC, nor engineer, nor artist, nor sculptor, nor inventor, or musician, or recording artist. Not a poet, nor a thinker. I agree. Not a manager, a student, or alumni. Well, you know, guy, I gave Dave him a link to Dave, giving an example of Lee's illegal libel behavior of calling me names with no, just to do it. Number one, you've never accomplished anything but tile, demonstrating loudly your abilities to train in the field of electronics, magnet energy, etc., to be exactly zero. Two, you're not debating anything other than tossing insults in Christ's name. Not one single piece of your argument is sound in any known areas of debate. You continue to hang on a fucking dream and claim that it's of Christ. People, I go on and try to explain to this man how his simple math doesn't even add up. We only look at the moon for 12 hours a day. Take and do the math. You're looking at about 6.24 degrees motion a night, and he puts a damn ball on a wire and waves it around the sky. That is an absolute flat Earth model where the moon and sun rotate around us instead of us sitting next to them, rotating around them like the models of working Earth and Moon would be. The whole basis of his anger at me is because I'm right. Just the nature of research is you have to be able to individually look up something. Do the research means you look at that subject and the data points around it, and you have to have a little bit of cognitive ability to understand what you're looking at. Lee, if I was your boss, I would hand you the dumb end of the tape measure every day. Because you obviously can't even do a simple fucking math problem. One, your research abilities are absolutely insanely lacking. And I do need to remind you, maybe alert you to the fact that I was a senator's investigator for several years, the top investigator. Now, to be an investigator for a senator, they need to know what's going on in the real world and require you to have a little bit of a talent for the job. Obviously, you're not and never have been of that caliber. And it's pretty evident. Now, as a result, you give every day these learning experiences, and I really do appreciate that. But holy shit, dude, you're making yourself look like a fool. You really are. And you're hateful to women, to me, just because I'm right. Look, Ben Davidson even said you can feel magnets. He gave the research on it. I watched it. I thought it was pretty good. He even had a little brain up there showing you how to do it. Jesus, Lee. I told you this is going to begin World War III. China, Russia, and North Korea will bomb us. NATO just opened the Northern Front 2 days ago in the war against Russia. Folks, it's begun.